when you do your outreach, make it as easy for them to know who you are and what you bring to the table as possible. Don't just say, here's my resume, you got anything? Say, hey, my name's Brad. I've got 10 years of experience doing Windows administration, and I've got my Azure 900 cert, and I think I could be a great fit for XYZ company because of these two reasons. That way, that person, all they have to do is forward it to the hiring manager or forward it to the appropriate recruiter.
Welcome to Security Cleared Jobs, Who's Hiring and How, the podcast for cleared professionals looking for new opportunities and career advice. We go behind the scenes with recruiters and hiring managers from leading cleared employers to uncover the information you need to make a smart career move.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to Security Cleared Jobs, Who's Hiring and How. My name is Bob Wheeler. I am your host. We're with ClearedJobs.Net. And today we are talking to Brad Wilson from STEM Solutions. STEM Solutions is a government contractor, does work with the Air Force, Space Force, Army, Marine Corps, lots of different organizations, some intel stuff too. But we've got Brad Wilson with us. He's the CEO. Brad, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bob. Appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, man. Hey, why don't we start off? Just tell us a little bit about yourself, and we'll get into what the STEM does in a second. But tell us about yourself. How did you get to where you're at?
Yeah, for sure. My name is Brad Wilson. Like you said, I'm the CEO over here at STEM Solutions. I have been in the government contracting space for a little bit over 10 years now. Started off in the recruiting side, worked at one of the large staffing agencies. I like to call it Recruiter College. So after working at one of the staffing agencies, I actually moved into working for a mid-sized defense contractor myself, a company called Validitech. Started on the recruiting team there and moved into a business operations management role. So really got to be exposed to kind of everything. After Validitech, started STEM Solutions back in 2022, and we are a technical services and kind of staff augmentation firm. We focus exclusively on the federal space. So we've got a lot of subcontracts. You kind of mentioned the Air Force and Space Force and things like that, as well as DHS and some of the intel agencies. So anything technical or cybersecurity or back office, it's right in our wheelhouse and we can manage. As far as myself and my motivations, I come from a military family and supported the government or national security in some way or the other. My dad was a Marine, brother's Marine, sister's a Marine, brother-in-law's a Marine. So other sister has been supporting CBP for probably 20 years now. Kind of runs through our blood and keeping the missions top of mind. And I think a lot of the people listening to this, and probably you yourself, Bob, you guys probably all share the similar sentiments of supporting this national security mission we have.
Absolutely, yeah. Cool. Well, we mentioned some of the broad overviews, the agencies that you support, but you mentioned that you got some subcontracts and stuff like that. So we're filming this right around the beginning of the year, but a couple of things you just picked up: a missile defense agency contract, a soft contract. So what kind of skill sets are you looking for at STEM Solutions? What are you looking for out there?
Yeah, great question. So we cover 5 main areas. Sometimes we'll get positions outside of these areas, but the 5 main areas would be like your IT support. So you think your systems administrators, your network administrators and engineers, systems engineers, your hands-on people making the computer run. And then we'll also go into engineering services. So that can range from anywhere from, gas turbine engineers, if we're working with the Navy, to people working on planes and helicopters and really getting their hands dirty and maintaining these vehicles and these different systems. And then we've also got an acquisition practice. So any type of acquisition program management, logisticians, acquisition professionals themselves, especially with the Air Force and Space Force, any type of experience. We're always looking for those type of qualified people. Next up, we'll go into the program management area. We always need good program management folks, usually with a technical background, either an acquisition technical background or an engineering or an IT technical background. And then we do some like mission readiness and business administration type support. I was just looking at the new Oasis Plus that came out, and one of the new swim lanes is going to be business administration. So all of your mission managers, flag officer level support, senior administrators, things like that, folks that work at the Pentagon or maybe out in Chantilly or Springfield. We've always got need for those people as well.
Man, that's a lot of different stuff. I mean, that's you hit a number of different topics that are kind of diverse in things. Clearance level wise, is that also diverse? Or are you pretty much sticking to certain clearance levels that you're looking for these positions?
Yeah, most of our work is in the secret to top secret level. Every once in a while, we will get some things maybe at the polygraph level with the Maryland customer, the Virginia customer, or at the CI polygraph level. But I would say 80% of the things that we work on are secret and top secret.
That's good. Yeah. There's a lot of those folks. And then, the last thing, when we start talking about the jobs, we're always looking at location now too. So we've talked about what you do. We talked about the clearance level. Are these jobs, are they up in Northern Virginia area? I think I was looking at your website. It looks like you got some stuff more than just there too, right?
Yeah, correct. We go to where the business goes. Northern Virginia, obviously in the DMV area, we've got a pretty heavy presence. We've got positions in Tyson's Corner. We've got positions in Springfield and Chantilly. We've got positions in DC proper. So we're covered throughout the DMV. We also have work nationwide and hopefully globally here soon in this coming year. So we've got positions available at Hanscom Air Force Base up in Massachusetts, at Los Angeles Air Force Base out in LA, Lackland Air Force Base in the San Antonio area. We've got a growing practice working with some defense tech firms as well out in the San Francisco area. So for anyone on the AI engineering side or looking to break into that, we've got some connections there as well. And we've got a few bids out for potentially roles in Japan, or in the past we've worked with the State Department's overseas buildings office, doing inside plant, outside plant positions across the globe. But yeah, usually CONUS either in the DMV or some of your government contracting hotbeds.
I think that's one of the things that I would say as a job seeker, you really want to pay attention to things like your website, your LinkedIn, because it sounds like you're one of those companies, like you said, you're just because what you've got now is what you have now, but 3 months from now, you may have different stuff because new contracts are coming out, right?
Exactly. So you never know. New contracts come out, new partnerships develop to maybe where we're being brought on as a subcontractor or a staffing provider. So things can change from week to week.
Yeah, that's good stuff. So we've talked about what you do. Let's get into a little bit more about STEM Solutions. I mean, you're the CEO, so you started it. You kind of gave us a little bit of that background. What's the culture like? Do you have a culture there that you is it intentional? Do you have a culture for STEM Solutions?
Yeah, so STEM, we're a remote first company. So we've got a small office here in Manassas, Virginia, and then we've got contractors spread throughout the country, about 30 folks strong right now. So the culture, we definitely reward good quality work and mission-driven support work, usually in the form of, monetary bonuses, things like that. We've also got a good comprehensive benefit package, an employee-first organization. Like I mentioned, I started as a recruiter, and I'm still a recruiter, still at heart, so I'm still making cold calls and stuff like that. So everyone we probably have billing right now is either directly recruited by me or has spoken to me in depth throughout the interview process. So, I CEO because someone has to be, but, really another person and that's trying to accomplish this mission. And I'm on text basis with everyone working for us and phone call. And if anyone ever needs anything, they know exactly where to find me. There's no going through somebody or put it on my calendar. It's hey, Brad, let's talk real quick.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a lot of value working for a smaller company like that when you've got those types of things.
Yeah. No, I've worked at one of the largest companies in the country, and it was great. It was a good experience, and I've worked for small companies, and I'll take the small company every day. There was this kind of a saying I heard a long time ago. It was like, working at a big company, you could leave for 2 weeks and no one would probably notice, But a small company, if you're really moving and shaking, if you're out of the office for 2 hours, somebody's going to be like, hey, where you at, man? We need this, that, and the other, because you're impacted every day. And you get to see the changes that you make. And, hopefully if you're working at a good enough company, they'll reward you appropriately. Yeah.
Well, something else that you talked about, you mentioned at the beginning of this, your commitment to military. You've got a military family. I'm a veteran myself. I did 20 years in the Navy, still living down here by Camp Lejeune, North Carolina.
Oh, nice.
So we deal with transitioning veterans, and you guys do the SkillBridge program there, and not just SkillBridge, but I've also got some notes here, some other programs, Virginia Values Veterans. I mean, you're really invested in this, aren't you?
Correct. Yeah. SkillBridge, Virginia Values Vets. But yeah, we've had some success with the SkillBridge program, bringing some folks onto the corporate side to help them transition out. We set you up, we'll pay for a couple of certifications while you're in it. We've got partnerships with like different folks at the VA, just kind of explain the transition process, explain the VA loan process, explain how to navigate the medical side of things from folks that have actually done it. We've got, GS 13s and 14s down in McDill that take some time out to us. I talk to the folks during their cohort, and if they want to explore careers on the government side, they can learn how to do that. And then, same thing with the Virginia Values Vets program. We're a part of that program as well, which has been beneficial.
Yeah, that is great to see. I love it. I love talking to companies that are really putting their money where their mouth is and that kind of stuff. And it's really sounds like that's what STEM's doing.
Yeah, no, exactly. And like you said, there's a difference between being veteran friendly and then actually understanding what that means. Like, hey, I'm going to need 2 days off so I can get this VA thing straightened out, or, hey, I'm going to, I've got this thing or that thing going on.
Yeah.
We get it. And we're more than happy to accommodate.
So let's lean back into, let's take your CEO hat off. You had recruiter from the beginning, and it sounds like you're still doing that kind of stuff. We're talking to job seekers here. We're talking to people who are either actively looking for a job, or maybe these are people that are always keeping their finger on the pulse of the industry to see what's going on. What's some good advice that you would give to people in the job search? I mean, you mentioned it's kind of like you're always doing cold calls. It's a sales kind of thing to you?
For sure. I would say if you're a job searcher, treat it like sales. I think that's probably the best advice you can have. We've all heard the stories of, I've applied to 500 positions and I've never heard back. And, I can attest, sometimes the application process is a black hole. But until that process gets fixed, I think it's important that folks take it upon themselves and treat it like a sales process. And, if you're coming onto the market or if you're a transitioning veteran, really nail down, learn what you want to do first, because that's going to be the most important thing. And then once you have that vision of what you want to do and where you want to take your career, go ahead and make that list of 20 to 30 companies that you could see yourself working at that kind of line up with that vision. Once you have that list of companies, go ahead, see what open positions they might have. You can apply to them for sure. That's great. But what you're also going to want to do is, I just call it like you want to mind map out the company and the folks. So who's the hiring manager for that position? Okay. Who's the recruiter for that position? Who's the hiring manager's manager for that position? Who's someone already doing the similar work within that company that I could reach out to? Maybe a fellow veteran, maybe someone that went to my school, whatever the case might be. And then you're going to go ahead and just reach out to those people, because, I know people are like, oh, it's awkward, or, what if it kills my application chances? And, you're already not getting a call back. So you might as well reach out to them and see what they say. When you do your outreach, make it as easy for them to know who you are and what you bring to the table as possible. Don't just say, here's my resume. You got anything? Say, hey, my name's Brad. I've got 10 years of experience doing Windows administration, and I've got my Azure 900 cert, and I think I could be a great fit for XYZ company because of these 2 reasons. And here's the job I'm interested in. That way, that person, all they have to do is forward it to the hiring manager or forward it to the appropriate recruiter, and then they'll know what to do from there. So, I would do that for 20 or 30 companies, and I would imagine you'd have a few interviews set up just from doing that. And then once it's in the interview phase, it's kind of all up to you.
Yeah.
Make sure you every requirement on that job description. If you don't have experience to it, make sure you do a little bit of studying so you can at least speak to it and say, hey, I haven't done this in a professional setting, but I have looked into it on my personal time, and here's what I know about it so far, and here's what I'm willing to learn about it, and here's what I'm willing to do to learn about it. Because, that way you can kind of overcome those objections before they even start. Because a lot of folks, especially if you're going to small business, we're looking for folks that are going to be self-starters, self-studiers, don't necessarily need to be pitching in on the proposal side or anything, but somebody that's going to go and make you proud to put them in front of the customer is really what a lot of these companies are looking for. When you present yourself in the interview process, I promise you, when you're interviewing with the company itself, that's all they're thinking about is how is a customer going to think about this person and how are they going to reflect the company. So make sure you're having that in mind.
That's great advice. That is terrific. And one of the things we love about advice is that there is no silver bullet way to get hired. There's
not at all.
There's good advice that if you take it, you apply it to the best you can. But even then, and you got to the point where you said at the interview, it's kind of up to you type thing.
Yeah.
Well, we talk about some hiring stories that you've got from your experience, and the long and the short of it. I mean, you've got some examples of somebody who gets hired really fast because they're really responsive, and also people who take a long time to get hired. Could you share with us maybe, I don't know if they're the extremes or not, but just the quick story and the long story, guys?
Yeah, I would love to do that. So the quick story, we have an administrator at the Pentagon last year. I can't remember if her contract ended or her contract was getting ready to end. But either way, she needed a job yesterday. So, we did the initial screening. She presented great. She had done the position in the past and it was familiar even with the customer and the agency and stuff like that. So we went ahead, we submitted her to the customer. The customer got back to us the same day to set up a quick phone screen the next morning. I reached back out to her, to the candidate at the time, and she was very responsive. And we set up this phone screen for the next day. This is where it gets fun. She took the phone. She was working at the Pentagon at the time. Yeah, so she was working. So she was working at the Pentagon at the time. took the phone screen in her car. The person that she was interviewing with was like, hey, I think you did awesome. Would love to set you up for a final interview. If you're at the Pentagon, can you meet with my manager at lunch? And she was like, heck yeah, sure. So they went into the Pentagon cafeteria, talked for 20 minutes. They, everything went well. And by like 3:00 that day, she had an accepted offer. And by 5:00, we had a signed offer.
Wow.
Because she was prepared, she was the right fit, and she was responsive, and she was willing to get creative. And I knew some people, if you say, hey, can you interview tomorrow? They might get nervous because they want to feel prepared and things like that, which I completely get. Go into an interview prepared. But sometimes when the iron's hot, you got to strike as well. So kind of finding that good balance of like, hey, I'm ready to talk about this and meet with these people versus, oh, I want to feel, ultra ready. Sometimes you just got to do it. And then we've got another one. This person I'd probably talked to for about a year, maybe a year and a half before we were able to bring them on. This person, they were a teacher looking to transition from teaching into the IT cleared space. So it was actually a friend of my brother-in-law, and he's just said, "Hey, Brad, can you talk to him and give him a little bit of advice on how to go about it?" So he talked. He had a great attitude, great personality. Working with high school kids, I think that probably comes naturally. He was also a football coach, so just had that mindset, that winning mindset. And I just kind of told him like, hey, I see you're getting the IT certifications, which is a great step. You're also going to want to try to get a clearance, whether that be, applying for you might not get that IT job you want right out of the gate. That'll sponsor you for your clearance. Maybe look into access control. Maybe look into security positions, maybe look into some more entry-level roles that are willing to sponsor you. So that was that conversation. Maybe 3 or 6 months later, he gives me a call back. He says, hey, Brad, I took your advice. I just got my top secret clearance. Hey, that's awesome. So that was that connection. And then, 3 to 6 months later, he called me back. He said, hey, Brad, I took your advice. I got a tier 2 job and I've got my security plus now. And I was like, hey, that's awesome. Thank you for letting me know. I appreciate the follow-up. And then 6 months after that, we got a position open for a cybersecurity supply chain position. First person I thought of was Isaiah, and I called him back and I said, hey, I've got this position for you. It seems like from what you told me, you've got the quals already. You want to, are you interested in pursuing? And we set him up for an interview with the candidate. And even then, the position wasn't a perfect fit, but he just studied his tail off in the few days before the interview and was able to really impress them and got that offer. But because he was, because he was so proactive in his approach, he didn't just wait for someone to call him back. He followed up, and his follow-ups weren't just, hey, you got a job. Hey, you got a job. Yeah. Hey, you got a job. His follow-up was, hey, I've been working on myself, and here's the quick update about that. Hey, I just accomplished this thing. Here's a quick update. I'm not asking for anything. I'm just letting you know. And then when the time was right, that was the very first person I thought of.
That is, I love that story. I try to talk to people when I do job seeker training too about that. And a small number of encounters over a longer period of time is what builds a relationship, which is better than 3 encounters in the same week. And like you said, he reached out. A few months later, he reached out, but then, and this is the lesson for job seekers. You're a recruiter by trade, Brad. You're in your bones, I guess.
Yep.
You keep track of the good people so that when that need comes back up, boom, that is like that's a textbook story. I'm gonna have to keep. Mind if I borrow that later on?
Please do. And I told him, I said, man, I've probably given that same piece of advice to 100 people, and you're maybe one of 2 or 3 to follow it. So that's half the battle as well. People very much, and I find this when I'm reaching out to other business owners who are where I want to be to pick their brain, people very much want to give you advice, and they very much want to see you follow the advice.
Well, hey, this has been a great conversation, Brad. I loved learning all about the company, learning about you and your stories, everything like that. If people who are out there listening to us, they want to get in touch with you because you're this fountain of great wisdom. What's the best way for them to get in touch with you? Just hit you up on LinkedIn, or is there any other ways?
Yeah, LinkedIn or email. You can find me on LinkedIn. Just I'll be Brad Wilson, PMP. Or if they want to email me, B Wilson, so first initial, last name, at STEMsolutions.net. Promise you, I try to get back to everybody. So I'll get back to you. If feels like a fit, I'll send you my calendar link. We'll have a quick chat. Or if you just want some advice, let me know. There's no such thing as a bad conversation in my world.
Hey, it's been great meeting you, Brad, and learning about STEM Solutions. You guys really seem like you got it going on, winning new contracts and moving forward. So good luck with everything in the future. And thanks for joining us today.
Bob, this is a pleasure, man. I appreciate what Cleared Jobs does for the community and the mission you guys have. So thank you very much.
All righty. Well, Brad's out of the studio now. Thanks for joining us. But that was just a really, really terrific conversation we just had with Brad over there at STEM Solutions. And some of the things that I really picked up about STEM Solutions specifically is all the different things that they do, everything from IT work to, engines to logistics, a lot of different things. And he made a great point that they're always winning new contracts. So I think it's one of the lessons learned on that is keep checking back on their websites for all these companies to see what's going on, because what they're doing today may not be what they're doing in 3 or 6 months. So good tip. And so great stuff with STEM Solutions. Thanks again for joining us. If you like what's going on here at Security Cleared Jobs, who's hiring and how, make sure you share this. Send it out to people. You can send it out on LinkedIn, send it out to your friends via social media. Give us a like on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you find your great podcasts. So thanks for joining us again, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.